Part 6, Chapter 42. Everyday Psychology for Everybody. Healthy Mental Vision. Everyday psychology for all involves preserving a positive mental framework. Here's the basis for better mental health. This chapter closes the 6th section on the psychology of the neshama and ruach. We've solved the mind-body problem and established the full composition of a human being, a dust body with the neshama consciousness and the ruach mind. We know that we're dealing with the spiritual, and this section is for everyday psychology for everyone. How to establish, develop, and maintain mental health for the vast majority of people who don't believe in God and Scripture. We have seen that people are blinded to God's Word, but God still clothed them. God set in motion the human mentality and the guardrails to keep humanity on the straight and narrow. All the instruction has always been present, symbolized by God clothing Adam and Eve with skin coats. But God has also given humans free choice. Human freedom has led them to imagine every possible way to live their own lives, moving further and further away from God's path. Some have plunged over the precipice. Most have strayed. Many far into the forest of darkness, despair, and anxiety. This final chapter summarizes everyday psychology, or how to preserve human consciousness and mind intact, despite the 21st century consequences we're subject to. Is it even imaginable to think the world can have good mental health? Yes, peace of mind will be a worldwide phenomenon. What if you could walk the streets and paths, even in the forest, day or night, and know that no one would harass you, let alone attack you? What if ladies could take public transport with no lascivious looks and gestures from male travelers? What if children weren't the brunt of fatherly mistreating or parents squabbling? What if you knew nobody would lie about you, but rather respect your competency at work? What if you didn't have to worry about drunkenness, drugs, or insults when driving? That's a lot of what-ifs. But how much would that lower your anxiety and give you peace of mind? Disclaimer: I am not a psychologist or competent to prescribe mental health advice. This biblical explanation of preventive means will lessen anxiety and enhance mental health. It is not a magic wand, a 5-minute solution. Still, it reveals the root causes and demonstrates how to fertilize them appropriately to grow a vibrant, stable society where individuals function with healthy bodies and wholesome minds. The above scenario is, unfortunately, illusory in today's society. That's why mental health will remain in a state of flux, if not worsen. But there are personal solutions and hope for the more or less distant future. The Bible relays this expectancy and the causes for these favorable circumstances. In opposition to the illusory tableau I painted above, this will be a reality in the community, nations, and worldwide. Micah 4, verses 2 through 4. And many nations shall come and say, Come, and let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, and to the house of the God of Jacob, and he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For the law shall go forth of Zion, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. And he shall judge among many people, and rebuke strong nations afar off. And they shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up a sword against nation, neither shall they learn war any more. But they shall sit every man under his vine, and under his fig tree, and none shall make them afraid. Strong's H 2729. For the mouth of the Lord of hosts has spoken it. This Bible prophecy telescopes us into a future world. I do not have space to explain the what and the when, but it's when housing, rurality, consumption, health, and families will be in harmony. The result is the absence of people and events that scar our mental health today. This is positive everyday psychology for everybody. None shall make them afraid. H 2729. Strong's H 2729. Charad. To shudder with terror, hence to fear, also to hasten with anxiety. KJV translations. Be afraid, make afraid. Be careful, discomfort, fray, quake, and tremble. No more discomfort or trembling when you're alone. Note Strong's use of anxiety. That will be an obsolete sentiment. Yes, unreal now, maybe even a joke for most, but that's what Scripture tells us, and it portrays a world we can only dream of today. But the factors that make this fantasy come true are in verse 2. He, God, He will teach us of His ways, and we will walk in His paths. For the law, H 8451, the law shall go forth of Zion, and the word, H 1697, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. The law is Torah, H 8451, the first 5 books of the Bible, and word is Dabar, H 1697, the same Hebrew word used for the 10 Commandments in Exodus 34:28. Verify this at unlockbiblemeaning.com. This worldwide free will choice of people to follow God's law and His word will be closely coupled with a second principle. Isaiah 30, verse 21. And your ears shall hear a word behind you, saying, This is the way, walk you in it, when you turn to the right hand and when you turn to the left. The right teachers with the proper subject matter are the recipe for appeasing mental health. In other words, the level of psychological well-being in a country and the world reveals the state of who is teaching and what is being taught. Let's be open and upfront. If society could seriously diminish or come close to eliminating divorce, child abuse, murder, illicit sex, adultery, theft, and lying, imagine what kind of society we'd have. Talk about everyday psychology and peace of mind. That list, in italics, is none other than the last 6 of the 10 Commandments. That's the law in Micah 2, verse 2, for teachers in Isaiah chapter 30, verse 21. Parents, nurturing, preventive psychology, teachers and psychologists, healing, remedial psychology, have a solid basis for working with those they counsel. I'm not saying it's easy. In fact, it's downright hard because you're bucking the trajectory of society. But that's part of the recipe for mental wellness with real-world reality. So let's look at this in the overall picture. How humans function. Consciousness consists of 5 main areas: how humans function, reason, socialize, and rule, and their purpose in life. The above points, law, rules or ethics, and teachers, whether parents or psychologists, affect the most personal aspect of consciousness, how you and I function. If you have a complex machine, like a printing press, and you don't know how it works, it's of little value. Read this chapter for details of how humans function. The 7 primary phases are dual nature, free choice, behavior, ethics, justice, self-reproach, and forgiveness. Everyday psychology helps people see their dual nature, the good and evil, yes, there is right and wrong, and make wise choices based on solid ethics, which results in appropriate behavior. In addition, by avoiding wrongdoing, people will immediately have a load lifted from their shoulders, less anxiety, and more peace of mind. Teaching how to function as a human being for oneself and in the presence of other people is everyday psychology, and it is the primary role of parents. When young children enter school, this suitable functioning should already be inculcated within each child. Imagine what that would do for the atmosphere in a class. Teaching a child how to function is not the role of kindergarten, preschool, or any school teacher. All of the influences, inner and outer circles, exercised by the mind, the beige background in the diagram, on the consciousness, are part of life. Therefore, parenting means applying preventive psychology when a child is in the malleable, critical periods of the first years of their life. Everyday psychology by professional psychologists straightens out and remedies these interior and exterior influences of their patients. The key to preventive and remedial psychology is the way. Remember Micah 2, verse 2. He will teach us his way. And Isaiah 30, verse 21. This is the way. Walk you in it. Even non-believing psychologists should know and help patients practice not killing, lying, stealing, and the thoughts and actions associated with the last 6 of the 10 Commandments. I realize this is extremely difficult with media, TV, streaming services, cartoons, gaming, real-life violence, and drama having a daily effect on our minds, but that's our role to the best of our abilities. Positive and negative influences are a daily combat. We have let immorality seep into our society insidiously, and we are well nigh going under. Yet, despite that, through appropriately aware and prepared parents, teachers, coaches, and psychologists, everyday psychology can make a difference. The whole program is represented by the green, the 2 inner, and red, the 2 exterior circles, the positive and negative ethics we instill in people. Which will it be? The 10 Commandments or the 10 anti-commandments? The warring proverbs or the sound proverbs? This is the continual fight, the good fight each of us faces in our personal lives and with those we are responsible for. How humans function is the starting point for mental health, but not sufficient without the other 4 aspects of consciousness. Socialize, rule, reason, and purpose. I believe you understand how our personal mode of psychological functioning will affect our socialization and management, rulership of that for which we have a responsibility. I refer you to sections 3 and 4 of Audit of Humankind for detailed workings and applications for these aspects of consciousness. Reasoning is a major subject we cannot delve into here, but in the context of everyday psychology for everyone, I'd point you to a Bible principle. Our world is eating from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. That's a choice made, for whatever reason, by those apart from God. Psychologists and all teachers should teach the good of the tree. That good is represented by organizations and millions of individuals worldwide volunteering and accomplishing many encouraging and edifying projects. Let accurate reasoning encourage us to do secular good works. With how humans function, I believe purpose plays a crucial role in mental health. Too many people, especially the younger generation, are lost. They have valid queries. I don't know who I am, where I came from, and where I'm going. They're unsettled about their future and don't see much meaning in their present lives. That's the formula for despair and hopelessness. We must help people establish short and long-term goals for their education, skills, recreation, professions, careers, and future. Parents and counselors have a debilitating tendency to say, "Don't do this or that." Of course, we should avoid dangers, but we must replace them with safe substitutes, and they become the practical purposes people strive for and reach. There's nothing like the feeling of success to replace despair. There's nothing like attaining a recreational or professional goal to boost one's mental health. That's beneficial for everyday psychology. Consciousness and mind, neshama and ruach, are spiritual components of each human being. They are the most important and precious elements we possess. Therefore, it behooves those in all leadership and influential roles to practice everyday psychology in an uplifting way to bring about wholesome mental health.